A father makes a drastic decision and abandons his daughter in a wheelchair in the middle of a dark forest. You won't believe what the wolf did to her. The air in the forest was freezing, bringing with it an unsettling silence that seemed to intensify with each of Mark's steps. Emily, sitting in her wheelchair, felt the biting wind brush her face as she anxiously watched her father take her deeper into the forest. At 15, she had learned to read her father's expressions like an open book, and today something in his gaze deeply disturbed her. "Remember when Mom used to say everything had a purpose?" Mark asked, breaking the silence. His voice sounded distant, as if he was talking more to himself than to her. Emily didn't respond, focusing on the sound of leaves crunching under her wheelchair. Since Sarah's departure, her mother 6 months ago, Mark had transformed into a different man, consumed by debts and a depression that seemed endless. When they reached a clearing in the middle of the forest, Mark stopped. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Emily watched as her father ran his hands through his hair, a nervous gesture she knew well. "You'll be okay here," he said in a voice that tried to be soft but trembled. "Someone will come for you." Emily's heart began to race. "Dad, please don't leave me here," she pleaded, reaching out to him. "What's going on? Why are you bringing me here?" Mark knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. His eyes were moist, but his expression was determined. "You're strong, Emily, stronger than you think. Someday you'll understand why I'm doing this, the debts, and I can't take it anymore. Mr. Vincent gave me an ultimatum." "Mr. Vincent, the loan shark?" Emily asked, feeling fear take over her. "We can seek help, Dad. Grandpa Joe—" "No," Mark interrupted abruptly. "Your grandfather can't help us. No one can." He stood up, taking a step back. "I'm sorry, my girl. I'm so sorry." Emily tried to reach him, but her immobile legs kept her prisoner in her chair. "Dad, please don't leave me, Dad!" Emily's screams echoed through the forest as she watched her father disappear among the trees. Tears ran down her cheeks and panic began to take over her. The forest, which had always seemed like a magical place during her walks with her mother, now became a terrifying prison. She tried to move her chair, but the wheels sank into the damp earth and fallen leaves. Frustration and fear mixed in her chest as the sun continued its descent, taking with it the last rays of light. Miles away, in the small adobe house on the outskirts of town, Joe, Emily's grandfather, looked at the clock with concern. His granddaughter should have returned hours ago from her walk with Mark. Something wasn't right. He could feel it in his bones. He took his old flashlight and the rifle he kept above the fireplace, determined to find his granddaughter. Darkness was beginning to cover the forest when Emily heard the first howl. It was a long, deep sound that made her skin crawl. The sounds of the nocturnal forest began to intensify. The creaking of branches, the movement of leaves, small noises that her mind transformed into invisible threats. That's when she saw them. 2 bright spots in the darkness, yellow eyes that watched her intently. A wolf emerged from the shadows, its black fur blending with the night. It was big, bigger than Emily had imagined a wolf could be, and its movements were fluid, almost hypnotic. The animal approached slowly, and to her surprise, it didn't seem threatening. It stopped a few meters from her, tilting its head as if studying her. Its bright eyes seemed to contain an almost human intelligence. "Please," Emily whispered, not knowing exactly what she was asking for. The wolf sat on its hindquarters, keeping its gaze fixed on her. For some reason she couldn't explain, its presence didn't terrify her as it should. There was something in those eyes that seemed strangely familiar. The hours passed slowly. The cold intensified, but the wolf remained there, like a silent guardian. From time to time, it would raise its head, alert to sounds she couldn't perceive, then return its attention to her. The moon was rising in the sky when Emily heard voices in the distance. The wolf stood up, its ears moving in the direction of the sound. "Emily!" Her grandfather's voice resonated among the trees. "Emily!" The animal looked at her one last time before retreating into the shadows, just as the beam of a flashlight illuminated the clearing. Joe appeared among the trees, panting, with the rifle in one hand and the flashlight in the other. "Grandpa!" Emily shouted, tears returning to her eyes, this time of relief. Joe ran to her, hugging her tightly. "My girl, my little one, what happened? Where's your father?" Emily couldn't answer, sobs choking her words as she clung to her grandfather. In the darkness of the forest, Two yellow eyes shone one last time before completely disappearing. What Emily didn't know was that that night marked only the beginning of a story that would change her life forever. The black wolf was not a simple forest animal, and their encounter had not been a coincidence. Behind those yellow eyes hid a secret that connected her family's past with ancient Native American legends that would soon begin to reveal themselves. Joe's adobe house, illuminated by the dim light of dawn, seemed more welcoming than ever to Emily. After the night in the forest, each familiar object took on a new meaning. The rocking chair by the window, the photographs on the walls, even the old pendulum clock that had belonged to her great-grandmother Mary. "Here, my child," said Joe, offering her a cup of hot chocolate. His wrinkled hands trembled slightly as he sat across from her. "We need to talk about what happened last night." Emily held the cup between her hands, letting the warmth comfort her. "Grandpa, why did Dad abandon me? What's really going on?" Joe sighed deeply, his eyes drifting to an old photograph on the wall. A young woman with a turquoise stone necklace holding a baby. "Your grandmother Ellen always said there are secrets in our family that are only revealed when necessary. I think the time has come to tell you some things." He slowly got up and went to an old carved wooden chest in the corner of the room. With trembling hands, he took out a worn leather book and a small box. "You see this book? It was your grandmother's diary. And this box contains something that has been in our family for generations." Emily watched curiously as her grandfather opened the box, revealing a necklace identical to the one worn by the woman in the photograph. The turquoise stones shone with a strange, almost supernatural light. "Your father doesn't know the whole story," Joe continued. "After your mother left, he got lost in his grief and began to frequent the wrong people. Mr. Vincent is not just a loan shark. He's a man who seeks something our family has protected for generations." "The necklace?" Emily asked, feeling there was more to this simple jewel. "Not just the necklace, but what it represents," Joe replied. "In our family, there has always been a special connection with the guardians of the forest. Your grandmother Ellen could communicate with them, and your mother Sarah also had that gift. The wolf you saw last night, it wasn't an ordinary animal." Emily felt a chill run down her spine as she remembered those yellow eyes that seemed to contain centuries of wisdom. "I felt something strange when I saw it, as if I knew it somehow. The ancients called these beings spirit animals," Joe explained, opening Ellen's diary. "They are protectors, spirits that take animal form to guide and protect those who are destined for great purposes. Your grandmother wrote about them, about how they have been linked to our family since time immemorial." Emily's mind was spinning as she processed this information. "Are you saying that the wolf that protected me last night was a spirit animal?" Joe confirmed. "And from the description you gave me, I think it could be the same one that appeared the night your grandmother fell ill. The black-haired, yellow-eyed guardian." At that moment, a distant howl made them both look towards the window. The sun was beginning to rise over the mountains, tinting the sky pink and orange. "Mr. Vincent," Joe continued, "has been looking for this necklace and the secrets it holds for years. Somehow he discovered its existence and has been pressuring different family members to obtain it. Your father probably thought that by abandoning you, he would force us to hand over the necklace to get you back." Emily felt anger and sadness mixing in her chest. How could he do something like that? "Fear can make people make terrible decisions," Joe replied softly. "But there's something your father doesn't know. The power of the necklace isn't in the stones, but in the blood of who wears it. Only someone from our family line, someone with the gift, can awaken its true potential." He approached Emily and gently placed the necklace around her neck. The turquoise stones seemed to come to life, emitting a soft blue glow. "Your mother knew this day would come. That's why she insisted you learn the ancient stories, the legends you loved so much as a child." A knock on the door interrupted the conversation. Joe tensed, instinctively grabbing his rifle. "Stay here," he whispered, heading towards the entrance. Emily touched the stones of the necklace, feeling a strange tingling in her fingers. Through the window, she thought she saw a shadow move among the trees, a dark figure with bright eyes watching her intently. The sound of angry voices came from the entrance. "You can't hide it forever," an unfamiliar voice shouted. "Mr. Vincent will get what he's looking for one way or another." Emily closed her eyes, clutching the necklace in her hands. For the first time since her mother left, She felt she understood why she had always told her she was special, that she had a unique gift. The black wolf hadn't appeared by chance. It had been waiting for this moment, the moment when she would discover her true destiny. The tension at the house entrance dissipated when Mr. Vincent's men finally left, leaving behind veiled threats that floated in the air like a toxic fog. Joe closed the door with the lock, his heavy steps echoing as he returned to Emily. "Are you all right, Grandpa?" she asked, noticing the paleness on his face. "Yes, my child," he replied, though his voice betrayed his worry. "But we can't stay here for long, Mr. Vincent won't stop. And now that the necklace has awakened with you, the danger is greater." Emily looked down at the turquoise stones that were still emitting a faint glow. "What does it mean that it has awakened? What am I supposed to do?" Joe sat in his old rocking chair, the creak of the wood mixing with the sound of the wind blowing outside. "Your grandmother Ellen left instructions in her diary. She knew this day would come." He opened the old leather book and began to read. "When the necklace finds its new guardian, she must be taken to the place where worlds touch, where ancient wisdom waits to be revealed." "The place where worlds touch?" Emily repeated, confused. "The Cave of Echoes," Joe explained. "It's a sacred place deep in the forest, beyond the clearing where I found you last night. Your grandmother used to go there to communicate with the spirit animals." A distant howl made them both look towards the window. The black wolf was there, sitting at the edge of the forest, its bright eyes fixed on the house. "It's waiting," Joe murmured. "It knows it's time." Emily felt a tingling all over her body. The stones of the necklace seemed to pulse to the rhythm of her heart. "But, Grandpa, how will we get there? My wheelchair." "Your mother left something else," Joe interrupted, heading to another chest in the corner of the room. From it, he pulled out a blanket woven with intricate geometric designs in turquoise and black. "This is a sacred weaving, made by the women of our family for generations. It has special properties." He spread the blanket over Emily's legs. Instantly, she felt a warmth spreading from her thighs to her feet. "Grandpa, I can feel my legs," she whispered, amazed. "The weaving channels the ancient energy," Joe explained. "So you won't be able to walk, but it will help you connect with your body in a different way. The spirit animals will be able to guide you better like this." A knock on the back door startled them. Joe moved quickly, but before he could reach his rifle, a familiar voice stopped them. "It's me, Rose," a woman whispered from the other side. "Quick, you have to get out of here." Joe opened the door, revealing an older woman with a dark shawl. Rose, the town healer and old friend of Ellen, entered hurriedly. "Mr. Vincent is on his way with more men. They've discovered that the necklace has awakened." "How is that possible?" Joe asked. "The turquoise stones shine more intensely now," Rose replied, looking at Emily's necklace. "The energy they emit can be felt by those who know how to look for it. You have to reach the Cave of Echoes before them." Emily felt the necklace warming against her skin. Through the window, she saw that the black wolf had come closer to the house. Other wolves were beginning to emerge from among the trees, forming a protective circle. "The spirit animals will help us," Rose said, also noticing the wolves. "But you must leave now. The full moon is approaching, and with it, the moment when the power of the necklace will be at its peak." Joe acted quickly, gathering provisions in a backpack. Ellen's diary, water, some fruit and bread. Rose approached Emily and placed her hands on the turquoise stones. "Listen to me well, little one," the healer said in a soft but firm voice. "The necklace will show you the way, but you must be prepared. The secrets you will discover in the cave will change everything you think you know about your family and yourself." Emily nodded, feeling a strange calm come over her. The fear was still there, but it was different now, mixed with a determination she didn't know she possessed. "One more thing," Rose added, pulling a small vial from her shawl. "This is a mixture of sacred herbs. If you find yourself in danger, drink 3 drops. It will help you see beyond the shadows." The sound of approaching vehicles in the distance alerted them. The wolves outside began to move restlessly, their eyes glowing in the growing darkness of dusk. "It's time," Joe said, taking control of Emily's wheelchair. "Rose, will you come with us?" The healer shook her head. "My place is here. I'll distract them long enough for you to escape. The spirit animals will protect you on the way." As Joe pushed Emily's chair towards the back door, she looked one last time at the house that had been her refuge. The black wolf was waiting for them at the edge of the forest, and for a moment, Emily thought she saw in its eyes a flash of something more than animal intelligence. It was the reflection of a destiny that was just beginning to reveal itself. Night was beginning to fall on the forest as Joe pushed Emily's wheelchair along an ancient path, almost invisible among the vegetation. The black wolf guided them, moving silently among the shadows, while other wolves flanked them at a distance like a spectral escort. Emily felt the necklace pulsing against her chest, its turquoise glow intensifying with each step they took deeper into the forest. The woven blanket over her legs emanated a comforting warmth, and for the first time in years, she could feel sensations in her extremities. The brush of the wind, the texture of the fabric, the energy that seemed to flow from the earth itself. "Grandpa," Emily whispered, "the necklace, it's changing. I can feel something, as if it wants to show me something." Joe stopped for a moment, catching his breath. At 70 years old, the effort of pushing the chair over the uneven terrain was considerable. "Your grandmother Ellen mentioned something similar in her diary. She said the necklace could show visions, fragments of the past and possible futures." A distant howl cut the conversation short. The black wolf raised its ears, alerted. Other howls responded, creating a nocturnal symphony that seemed to convey an urgent message. "They're coming after us," Joe murmured, quickening his pace. Emily closed her eyes, focusing on the necklace. The turquoise stone seemed to respond to her attention, and suddenly images began to flow in her mind. She saw her grandmother Ellen, younger, standing at the entrance of a cave, the same necklace glowing around her neck. She saw her communicating with the spirit animals, learning their secrets, weaving the blanket that now covered her legs. "Grandpa," Emily said, opening her eyes, "I know where we should go. The necklace is showing me." The black wolf stopped, turning towards her. Its yellow eyes seemed to confirm her words. Emily pointed to a barely visible path on their right. "That way. There's an ancient path that the spirit animals have used for generations." Joe nodded, trusting his granddaughter's instinct. As they advanced along the new path, Emily continued receiving visions. Fragments of ancient ceremonies, women of her family communicating with the forest spirits, the power of the necklace passing from generation to generation. The sound of engines in the distance alerted them. Mr. Vincent's men were approaching. The black wolf went ahead, disappearing among the trees. Moments later, a series of howls resonated in different directions, confusing their pursuers. "The Nahuals are creating a distraction," Emily explained, surprised to instinctively understand what was happening. "They're protecting our trail." Joe pulled out the vial that Rose had given them. "Perhaps it's time to use this." Emily took 3 drops of the herbal mixture. The effect was immediate. The forest seemed to take on a new dimension before her eyes. She could see luminous energy paths between the trees, the glowing tracks that the Nahuals had left over the centuries. "It's incredible," she whispered. "I can see the path we must follow. It's like the forest itself is guiding us." The black wolf reappeared, but now Emily saw it differently. A bright blue aura surrounded it, and its eyes contained an ancient wisdom that went beyond the animal. The Nahual bowed its head to her, as if recognizing that she could now see it in its true form. "Your mother knew this day would come," Joe said as they continued to advance. "That's why she insisted so much on telling you the ancient stories, on keeping you connected to our traditions, even after your accident." Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes as she thought of her mother. Could she see like this too? "Your mother had a special gift," Joe replied, "but according to Ellen, your connection with the Nahuals could be even stronger. The accident that left you in the wheelchair, your grandmother believed it wasn't a coincidence, that somehow it was part of your destiny preparing you for this moment." An urgent howl interrupted the conversation. The black wolf stopped, its ears erect in alert. Through her new vision, Emily could see luminous forms moving among the trees, more Nahuals coming to their protection. "They're getting closer," Emily said, feeling the urgency in the air. "But there's something else, something the necklace wants to show me about Mr. Vincent and my father." The necklace glowed more intensely, and a new vision began to form in her mind. What she saw left her breathless. A truth that would change everything she thought she knew about her family, and about the man who had abandoned her in the forest. The vision that the necklace was showing Emily was as clear as if she were witnessing the events in person. She saw her father, Mark, younger, arguing heatedly with Mr. Vincent in an old office. But there was something else. Around Mr. Vincent's neck shone a necklace similar to hers, though the stones were a darker, almost black turquoise. "It can't be," Emily exclaimed, abruptly coming out of the vision. "Grandpa, Mr. Vincent, he has another necklace." Joe stopped in his tracks, his face paling under the moonlight. "What have you seen?" "I saw Dad with Mr. Vincent years ago." "Mr. Vincent has a necklace similar to mine, but different. The stones are dark, almost black, and the energy they emit is disturbing." The black wolf approached them, its bright eyes fixed on Emily. Through her vision enhanced by Rose's herbs, she could see waves of energy emanating from the animal, connecting with her own necklace. "The dark necklace," Joe murmured, as if the words weighed heavily on him. "Your grandmother Ellen wrote about it in her diary. It's a corrupt replica of the original, created by those who wanted to use the power of the narwhals for their own ends." A new memory, this time of her mother Carol, surfaced in Emily's mind. Mom knew. That's why she was so worried in the last months before she left. She discovered something about Mr. Vincent. "Your mother was always very perceptive," Joe confirmed. "She started investigating Mr. Vincent when she noticed strange changes in Mark's behavior. But she never told me exactly what she discovered." Emily's necklace pulsed more strongly, and another vision flooded her. She saw her mother in the town library, reviewing ancient documents. She saw her discover something that made her turn pale, and then run home to write a letter that she hid. "The letter!" Emily exclaimed. "Mom hid a letter at home, behind the pendulum clock. I saw her do it the night before she left us. I thought it had been a dream." A nearby howl alerted them. The black wolf tensed, and other narwhals emerged from the shadows, forming a protective circle around them. "They're coming," Emily warned, feeling the urgency in the air. "But there's something else, the necklace. It's trying to show me something about Dad. He didn't abandon us because of the debts, did he?" Joe sighed deeply. "Your father always had a special gift, although he never knew it. Ellen told me he came from an ancient line of guardians like us. Mr. Vincent must have discovered this, and he's controlling him," Emily completed, the pieces fitting together in her mind. "The dark necklace, can it control people?" "Not exactly," Joe replied, "but it can influence their thoughts, especially those who have a natural connection with the narwhals. Your father, without knowing it, was vulnerable to its influence." The sound of approaching vehicles grew louder. The wolves moved restlessly, but the black wolf remained firm beside Emily. "We need to get to the Echo Cave," Emily said with determination. "The necklace is showing me that we'll find answers there, and maybe a way to save Dad." The black wolf emitted a soft growl of approval. Through her enhanced vision, Emily could see how the energy path they were following grew brighter, pointing the way to the cave. "Your mother," Joe said as they resumed their journey, "always said that the true power of the necklace wasn't in the stones, but in the heart of the wearer. That only someone who understood the true meaning of protection could awaken its full potential." Emily touched the turquoise stones, which glowed more intensely than ever. "That's why Mr. Vincent can't use the necklace properly, right? Because he sees it as a source of power, not protection." A distant howl echoed through the forest, different from the previous ones. The black wolf raised its head, alerted. "That howl," Emily murmured, feeling the necklace react. "It's not a narwhal. It's a wolf, under the influence of the dark necklace. Mr. Vincent must be using his necklace to control some forest wolves," Joe explained. "That's why we need to get to the cave as soon as possible. There the power of the true narwhals is stronger." Emily's necklace emitted a brighter flash, and a final vision struck her. She saw her father, standing at the entrance of the Echo Cave, his eyes clouded by the influence of the dark necklace. But in his hand, he held something he had taken from the house before abandoning her in the forest. "Mom's letter," Emily whispered. "Dad found it. He has it with him." The night had grown colder, and the full moon shone with supernatural intensity over the forest. Emily could feel the energy of the necklace increasing with every meter they approached the Echo Cave. The black wolf determinedly led the way, while the other narwhals maintained their guard around them. Suddenly, an unnatural howl broke the silence of the forest. Through her vision enhanced by Rose's herbs, Emily could see distorted forms moving among the trees. Wolves with a reddish and dark aura, very different from the blue light emanating from the narwhals. "They're surrounding the perimeter," Emily warned, feeling the threat through her connection with the necklace. The wolves controlled by Mr. Vincent, the black wolf stopped, turning towards her. In its yellow eyes, Emily could see a silent question. Without knowing how, she understood what the narwhal was communicating. "The necklace," she whispered, touching the turquoise stones. "Can I use it to help them?" Joe, who had been observing the interaction, nodded. "Your grandmother Ellen used to say that the necklace could free those under dark influences, but it requires great effort and conviction." Emily closed her eyes, concentrating on the power flowing through the stones. A new vision appeared in her mind. She saw her grandmother Ellen, years ago, using the necklace to free a deer that had been corrupted by negative energies. The technique was now clear in her mind. The controlled wolves emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with an unnatural red. Emily's necklace began to pulse more strongly, responding to her determination. "Grandpa," she said firmly, "I need you to bring me closer to them." "But Emily—" "Trust me," she interrupted. "The narwhals will protect us." Joe pushed the wheelchair forward, while the black wolf and its companions formed a protective barrier. Emily extended her hands, and the necklace emitted a bright flash of turquoise light. The energy of the necklace expanded in waves, reaching the controlled wolves. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the wolves began to shake their heads, as if waking from a deep sleep. The reddish aura surrounding them began to dissipate. "It's working," Joe murmured, amazed. Emily maintained her concentration, though she could feel the effort draining her energies. Through her connection with the necklace, she could feel the internal struggle of the wolves. The influence of the dark necklace was strong, but the power of true protection was stronger. Finally, the last wolf was freed. The animals, now free from the dark influence, bowed to Emily before disappearing into the forest. "You did it," Joe said proudly. "You used the necklace like Ellen did." Emily leaned back in her chair, exhausted but satisfied. The black wolf approached her, gently touching her hand with its muzzle. Through this contact, a new vision arose. She saw her father, Mark, sitting alone at the entrance of the echo cave, reading and rereading her mother's letter, tears running down his cheeks. "He's suffering," Emily whispered. "I can feel it. The letter, it's affecting him somehow." "The influence of the dark necklace must be weakening," Joe suggested. "Your actions, freeing the wolves, maybe they're also affecting its control over your father." A distant sound of engines reminded them that they weren't safe yet. The black wolf raised its head, alerted. "The cave is near," Emily said, feeling the energy of the place calling her. "But there's something else, something the necklace wants to show me about Mom." A new vision began to form. She saw her mother, Carol, writing the letter on her last day. The words began to become clear. "My dear Emily, if you're reading this, it means I've had to leave to protect you. Mr. Vincent discovered something about his dark necklace, something that could destroy it forever. It's in the ancient texts kept in the Echo Cave. But there's a price to pay, a sacrifice that—" The vision cut off abruptly. Emily opened her eyes, gasping. "What did you see?" Joe asked, concerned. "Mom, she didn't abandon us," Emily replied, tears running down her cheeks. "She left to protect us. And I think she's alive, Grandpa. She's waiting somewhere, waiting for the right moment." The black wolf emitted a soft howl, as if confirming her words. Through her connection with the necklace, Emily could feel that they were approaching a crucial moment. The Echo Cave held more secrets than they imagined, and the answers they were seeking were about to be revealed. The entrance to the Echo Cave loomed before them like an ancient mouth carved into the mountain. Ancient symbols decorated the stone walls, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Emily's necklace pulsed more strongly than ever, resonating with the energy of the place. "This is it," Emily whispered, feeling the connection between the turquoise stones and the ancient engravings. "But we're not alone." The black wolf went ahead, its bright eyes scanning the darkness. Through her enhanced vision, Emily could see lines of energy converging at the cave entrance, like rivers of blue light flowing into its interior. "Your father is inside," Joe confirmed, noticing recent footprints in the damp soil. "And by the marks, he didn't arrive alone." Emily closed her eyes, allowing the necklace to guide her. The visions came like waves. She saw her mother, Carol, years ago, discovering ancient texts hidden in the depths of the cave. She saw her deciphering symbols, understanding a secret that made her tremble. "Mom found something here," Emily said, opening her eyes. "Something about the origin of the necklaces. The dark necklace, it wasn't created, it was corrupted. Originally, it was part of our necklace, but someone separated it centuries ago. A sound from inside the cave interrupted her words. Approaching footsteps. The black wolf tensed, but not in a threatening manner. "Emily!" Mark's voice echoed from the darkness. Her father emerged from the shadows, his eyes no longer clouded by the influence of the dark necklace, but filled with deep sadness. In his hands, he held Carol's letter. "Dad," Emily whispered, feeling her heart race. "I'm so sorry," Mark said, his voice breaking. "Your mother's letter, it woke me up. Mr. Vincent, he's been controlling me all this time, but when I read Carol's words..." Emily's necklace glowed more intensely, and a new vision struck her. She saw the exact moment when her mother wrote the letter, her tears falling on the paper as she revealed the truth about the dark necklace and its bearer. "Mr. Vincent isn't who he claims to be," Mark continued, approaching them. "He is the descendant of the ancient guardian who corrupted the necklace," Emily completed, the pieces fitting together in her mind. "Mum discovered it in the ancient texts. That's why she had to hide." Joe took the letter from Mark's trembling hands and began to read aloud. "My dear family, if you're reading this, it means my plan worked, Mr. Vincent isn't just an ambitious moneylender. He's the last of a line of corrupted guardians who have sought the power of the Nahuals for their own ends. The dark necklace he wears is half of our ancestral necklace, separated and corrupted centuries ago by one of his ancestors. I have discovered in the ancient texts that there is a way to reunite the necklaces, to heal the corruption. But it requires something that Mr. Vincent will never have, the true love of a united family. That's why I've hidden myself, waiting for the moment when Emily would be ready to awaken her gift. The prophecy speaks of a guardian who will be born with the ability to unite what was separated, to heal what was corrupted. That's you, my dear Emily. Your connection with the Nahuals, even the accident that left you in the wheelchair, it was all part of the path that prepared you for this moment. I'm hidden in the heart of the cave, in a chamber that can only be opened by the combined power of family love and ancient magic. When you're ready, when the three of you are united in purpose and heart, you'll be able to find me. With all my love, Carol." The silence that followed the reading was interrupted by the sound of slow, sarcastic applause. Mr. Vincent emerged from the shadows of the cave, his dark necklace glowing with a sickly radiance. "A touching letter," he said with a cold smile. "But you've arrived too late. The full moon is at its highest point and the power of the necklaces is at its maximum. Tonight I will take what belongs to me," the black wolf growled, positioning itself protectively in front of Emily. Other Nahuals emerged from the shadows of the forest, surrounding the entrance of the cave. Emily felt the necklace warm against her skin, and a certainty settled in her heart. The moment of truth had arrived, and the fate of both necklaces would be decided that night. The tension at the entrance of the cave was palpable. Mr. Vincent's dark necklace emitted pulses of reddish energy that clashed against the turquoise glow of Emily's necklace, creating flashes of light that illuminated the ancient walls. "So many years searching for this," Mr. Vincent said, advancing slowly. "Generations of my family trying to recover what was denied to us. And now, just when the power is within my grasp, a girl in a wheelchair appears believing she can stop me." Emily felt her father's anger at these words, but she stopped him with a gentle gesture. "You're wrong," she responded, with a calmness that surprised even herself. "I'm not here to stop you, I'm here to help you." Mr. Vincent stopped, confused by her words. The black wolf, always attentive, observed every movement. "Help me," Mr. Vincent scoffed. "A weak, paralyzed girl pretends to help me." "True weakness," Joe intervened, "is in believing that power is more important than love." Emily closed her eyes, allowing the necklace to guide her. The visions came with more clarity than ever. She saw the exact moment when the original necklace was divided, the pain and tragedy it caused. She saw generations of corrupted guardians seeking to dominate the power of the Nahuals, and generations of protectors keeping it safe. "Your ancestor," Emily said, opening her eyes, "didn't steal the necklace out of malice. He did it out of fear. He was afraid that the power would be lost, that the Nahuals would be forgotten, but in trying to control that power by force, he corrupted it." Mr. Vincent hesitated for a moment. "How do you know that?" "Because the necklace shows me," Emily replied. and I can see the pain that division has caused in both families. The corruption didn't just affect the necklace, it affected everyone who has worn it since then. The Black Wolf moved forward, positioning itself between Emily and Mr. Vincent. Other Nahuals emerged from the shadows, their bright eyes fixed on the scene. The Nahuals were never meant to be controlled, Emily continued. They are protectors, guides. The power you seek, you already have it within you. It's in your blood as it is in mine, but you've been using it the wrong way. The turquoise stones of Emily's necklace glowed more intensely. The blanket over her legs began to emit a soft glow, and for the first time Emily felt she could slightly move her toes. My mother didn't hide out of fear, Emily said. She hid to give us time. Time to understand that the only way to heal both necklaces is through forgiveness and unity. Mr. Vincent put a hand to his dark necklace, which was pulsing erratically. It's too late for that. The power must be controlled, dominated. No, interrupted Mark, stepping forward. I've already seen what that kind of thinking causes. It made me abandon my own daughter. But the love of my family was stronger than your control. Emily extended her hand toward Mr. Vincent. Let me show you what the necklace has taught me. Let me show you the truth about your family, about our families. For a moment, Mr. Vincent's face showed doubt. The dark necklace on his neck emitted a stronger pulse as if resisting. At that instant, a soft light began to emanate from the depths of the cave. A secret passage was opening, revealing a hidden chamber. It's the sign, whispered Joe. Sarah. Emily felt her necklace responding to the new energy. The ancient inscriptions on the cave walls began to glow, and the Nahuals howled in unison, creating a melody that seemed to make the earth itself vibrate. The moment has come, Emily said, her voice blending with the echo of the howls. The choice is yours, Mr. Vincent. We can heal this division together, or you can continue the cycle of pain that has tormented both families for generations. The dark necklace pulsed once more, but this time something was different. The reddish energy began to mix with flashes of turquoise, as if responding to the call of its other half. At the entrance of the newly revealed chamber, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows, holding an ancient book in her hands. "Mom," whispered Emily, tears running down her cheeks. Sarah fully emerged from the hidden chamber, her figure illuminated by the ancestral light emanating from the cave walls. The book she held in her hands was covered with symbols similar to those decorating the walls, and a soft turquoise glow emanated from its pages. "My little Emily," Sarah said, her voice full of emotion. "You've grown so much." Emily felt her heart could burst with joy. The necklace on her neck glowed more intensely, responding to the emotions flowing in the environment. "All this time," muttered Mark, taking a step towards his wife. "You were so close." "It had to be this way," Sarah replied softly. The ancient texts spoke of a specific moment when the full moon and hearts would be aligned. Only then would healing be possible. Mr. Vincent, who had remained silent, observed the scene with a mix of emotions on his face. His dark necklace continued to emit erratic pulses, as if fighting against itself. Sarah opened the ancient book, its pages glowing with a supernatural light. "This is the Codex of the Nahuals," she explained. "It contains the true history of our families and the secret to healing what was divided." The Black Wolf approached Sarah, bowing its head in respect. Other Nahuals also approached, forming a circle around all of them. "Centuries ago," Sarah began to read, "when the original necklace was divided, a prophecy was written. Only when love overcomes fear, when protection replaces power, can the necklaces be one again. The healer will come in unexpected form, carrying in her heart the strength of generations." Emily felt the necklace transmitting a new vision. She saw the original necklace, complete, shining with a light that combined pure turquoise with flashes of other colors, a perfect manifestation of the balance between power and protection. "The prophecy spoke of you, Emily," Sarah continued. "Your condition, which some would see as a weakness, is actually your greatest strength. You have learned to see beyond physical limitations, to find power in vulnerability, to protect without dominating." "But how?" asked Mr. Vincent, his voice devoid of its previous arrogance. "How can she heal something that has been corrupted for so long?" "Because she's already doing it," Sarah replied, pointing to the dark necklace. The turquoise flashes on its surface had become more frequent, as if responding to an ancient call. Emily closed her eyes, concentrating on the energy flowing through her necklace. "I can see it now," she said softly. "I see the pain of your family, Mr. Vincent." The guilt, the fear, the loneliness, passed down from generation to generation along with the corrupted necklace. The black wolf approached Mr. Vincent, and for the first time, the man didn't recoil from its presence. The animal looked at him intently, as if showing him something in its ancient eyes. "The Nahwals never abandoned your family," Emily continued. "They have been waiting, watching, waiting for the moment when someone would be willing to listen instead of control." Sarah approached her daughter, placing the ancient book in her lap. "The healing ritual requires something that only you can give, Emily. An act of forgiveness and true love." The inscriptions on the cave walls glowed more intensely, and the Nahwals began to howl softly, creating a melody that seemed to resonate with their heartbeats. Emily looked at Mr. Vincent, seeing beyond his facade of power and control. To the scared child who had inherited a legacy of pain and misunderstood responsibility. "You're not alone," Emily said, extending her hand towards him. "You never were. The power you sought was always in your capacity to love and protect, not in control." A tear rolled down Mr. Vincent's cheek, falling onto his dark necklace. At that moment, something extraordinary began to happen. The dark stones began to glow with their own light, responding to the call of healing. The moment of truth had arrived, and in the ancient air of the Echo Cave, the fate of 2 families and 2 necklaces was about to change forever. The Echo Cave seemed to vibrate with ancient energy as Emily held the book in her lap, its pages glowing with a light that blended with the radiance of both necklaces. The Nahwals had formed a perfect circle around all of them, their howls creating a melody that resonated with the very stones of the cave. "The ritual," said Sarah, pointing to a specific page in the codex, "requires more than just physically uniting the necklaces. It requires the healing of ancient wounds, true forgiveness." Emily nodded, feeling the wisdom of generations flowing through the necklace. "Mr. Vincent," she called softly, "may I see your necklace?" The man hesitated for a moment, his hands instinctively touching the dark stones that had been his source of power for so long. But something had changed in his eyes. The weight of centuries of guilt and bitterness seemed to be giving way. "My family," Mr. Vincent began, his voice breaking slightly, "always told us we were the rightful guardians, that the power had been unjustly taken from us. But now I can see that it was we who strayed from the true path." He approached Emily, and for the first time she could see beyond his facade of power. She saw the child who had grown up with the weight of a distorted history, the man who had lived prisoner to a legacy of bitterness. "The necklace," Mr. Vincent continued, "constantly whispers. It promises power, control, but it also brings loneliness. So much time, so much pain." Emily extended her hand, gently touching the dark necklace. Instantly, a shared vision flooded the minds of all present. They saw the exact moment when the original necklace was divided, the pain and fear that led to that decision, the consequences that reverberated through generations. "It wasn't your fault," Emily said gently, "nor that of your ancestors. Fear makes us make decisions we don't always understand." The black wolf approached, its ancient eyes gleaming with wisdom. Through her connection with the necklace, Emily could feel that the Nahwals had also suffered with the division, patiently waiting for the moment of reunification. Sarah opened the codex to another page, where intricate symbols formed a circle. "The ritual must be performed here," she indicated, pointing to the center of the cave where the energy lines converged. Joe pushed Emily's wheelchair to the indicated point, while Mark helped position the other elements. The circle of Nahwals closed tighter, their bodies creating a barrier of light and energy. "The necklaces must touch," Sarah read from the codex, "while hearts open to forgiveness and understanding." Mr. Vincent, with trembling hands, removed the dark necklace for the first time in years. Emily could see the marks it had left on his skin, scars from a power that consumed as much as it gave. "For so long," said Mr. Vincent, "I believed power was the answer. But seeing your family, Emily, seeing how love keeps you together even in the most difficult moments, now I understand what my ancestor couldn't see." Emily held both necklaces, one in each hand. The contrast was striking. One shone with pure turquoise light. The other emitted dark flashes, mixed with sparks of its original color. "It's not about power or control," Emily said. as the stones began to resonate with each other. It's about protection, about love, about family. It's about understanding that true strength comes from our ability to care for one another. The Nahuals began a new chant, deeper and more ancient. The cave walls glowed with symbols that seemed to move and dance on the stone. The black wolf approached Emily, its eyes fixed on the necklaces that were beginning to emit an increasingly intense light. "It's time," whispered Sarah, placing her hands on her daughter's shoulders. Emily closed her eyes, allowing the love she felt for her family, the forgiveness towards her father, the understanding towards Mr. Vincent, to flow through her. The necklaces began to vibrate, their light intensifying until it was almost blinding. At that moment, something extraordinary began to happen. The stones started to merge, not physically, but on a deeper, more ancient plane. Darkness and light intertwined, dancing a dance of reconciliation that had waited centuries to occur. The light emanating from the merging necklaces filled the echo cave with a supernatural glow, a perfect blend of turquoise and other colors that no one had ever seen before. The stones danced with each other, intertwining on a level that seemed to defy physical reality. Emily felt the energy flowing through her body, a warm and powerful sensation that began in her hands and spread throughout her being. The woven blanket on her legs glowed with the same intensity as the necklaces, and for the first time in years, she could feel an intense tingling from her hips to her feet. "It's happening," whispered Sarah, her eyes shining with tears of emotion. "The healing is not just of the necklaces." The black wolf moved closer to Emily, its ancient eyes fixed on the transformation process. Through her new expanded connection, Emily could feel the presence of all the Nahuals that had ever existed, their stories and wisdom flowing like a river of ancestral knowledge. Mr. Vincent fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the energy that filled the cave. "I can see it all now," he said with a trembling voice. "All the generations, all the pain, and all the love that was always there, waiting to be recognized." The symbols on the cave walls came to life, moving and rearranging themselves to tell a new story. Emily could read them now, understanding the ancient language as if she had always known it. "The necklaces," she translated aloud, "were never meant to be two. The division was not a punishment, but a lesson that both families needed to learn. Only when power and protection were understood as one and the same would true healing be possible." As she spoke, she felt something extraordinary. Her legs, motionless for so long, began to respond. It wasn't complete movement, but she could feel the energy circulating, restoring connections that were thought to be lost forever. "Emily," said Joe, noticing the change in his granddaughter. "Your legs." Mark and Sarah moved closer to their daughter, their hands joining in support. Family love acted as a catalyst, intensifying the healing process unfolding before them. The necklaces, now almost completely fused, emitted a final blinding flash. When the light dimmed, a single necklace rested in Emily's hands, more beautiful than any had imagined. The turquoise stones shone with an inner light that seemed to contain all the colors of the universe, and small ancient symbols danced on its surface. "The necklace of unity," Emily read from the symbols on the wall. "It's not just a jewel of power. It's a reminder that true strength comes from unity, from love, from understanding." Mr. Vincent approached slowly, his eyes fixed on the transformed necklace. "For generations, my family sought power," he said softly. "But what we really needed was this: understanding, forgiveness, unity." The black wolf emitted a soft howl, and the other Nahuals responded in harmony. The melody they created seemed to weave a new kind of magic in the air, one that spoke of healing and renewal. Emily tried to move her legs again, and this time she managed to slightly bend her knees. Tears ran down her cheeks as she realized that healing was manifesting on all levels. "The Nahuals," she said, feeling her connection with them stronger than ever, "are not just protectors. They are living reminders that the most powerful magic is that which unites, that which heals, that which transforms." Sarah took the codex of the Nahuals, its pages glowing with a new light. "The prophecy didn't end with the union of the necklaces," she read. "It speaks of a new beginning, of two families united in purpose and heart, guiding together the path towards a future where power and protection are one." The unified necklace in Emily's hands pulsed softly, as if confirming her mother's words. Through it, she could feel that this transformation was just the beginning. The true adventure The true purpose of both families was just beginning to reveal itself. Dawn began to filter its light through the entrance of the Echo Cave, blending with the supernatural glow that still emanated from the unified necklace. Emily, with the help of her parents, was trying to stand up for the first time in years. Her legs, though still weak, were responding more and more to her efforts. Slowly, Sarah advised, holding her daughter on one side while Mark supported her on the other. The healing will take time, but it's happening. The black wolf watched attentively, its bright eyes following every movement. Through her connection with the necklace, Emily could feel that the Nahual was channeling energy towards her, aiding in her recovery. "It's incredible," murmured Mr. Vincent, observing the scene with a mixture of awe and remorse. "For all these years we sought power to dominate, when the true power was in the ability to heal." Joe approached his family's former rival, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It's never too late to start anew. Our families were divided for generations, but now we can build something new together." Emily managed to stand for a few moments, supported by her parents. The unified necklace glowed more intensely, and a new vision flooded her. She saw a future where both families worked together, using the power of the necklace to protect and heal, not just their own, but all who needed it. "The symbols on the walls," Emily said, pointing to the inscriptions that still glowed, "are changing. They're telling a new story. Our story." Sarah approached the wall, studying the transformed symbols. "You're right. They no longer speak of division and conflict. Now they show a path of unity and healing." The black wolf approached Emily, and for the first time she could clearly see the human form hidden within the Nahual, an ancient guardian who had been watching over both families for generations, waiting for the moment of reunification. "You," Emily said, understanding the truth, "never abandoned us. Even when the necklace was divided, when the families separated, you continued to protect both sides." The Nahual bowed its head in confirmation, and through the unified necklace, Emily could feel the deep wisdom and unconditional love these beings felt for both families. Mr. Vincent approached Emily, his eyes filled with a new understanding. "Will you ever be able to forgive me? Not just for what I did to you, but for all the harm my family has caused for generations?" Emily extended her hand towards him, holding the unified necklace between them. "Forgiveness is already given. The necklace hasn't just healed the division between our families, it has healed the wounds of the past." At that moment, the necklace emitted a soft glow, and all those present could feel a wave of peace and understanding. The Nahuals surrounding the cave howled in harmony, creating a melody that seemed to celebrate this new beginning. "The Codex," said Catherine, leafing through the ancient book, "speaks of a responsibility that comes with unification. The necklace is not just a symbol of healed power, but a tool to help others. And it's a responsibility we'll share," added Mark, looking at Mr. Vincent. "Our families working together as it always should have been." Emily took another step, increasingly steady. The woven blanket on her legs continued to glow, channeling the healing energy of the unified necklace. "The Nahuals will show us the way," she said with conviction. "They'll teach us how to use this power for the good of all." The black wolf approached each member of both families, gently touching them with its muzzle. With each touch, a connection was established, a deeper understanding of their role in this new chapter that was beginning. "The sun is rising," observed Joe, looking towards the cave entrance. "A new day for a new beginning." Emily smiled, feeling the strength and love flowing through the unified necklace. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but it wasn't an end. It was just the beginning of a new adventure, one that united past and present, power and protection, in a perfect dance of healing and hope. A week had passed since the unification of the necklaces, and Joe's old adobe house had become the center of an extraordinary transformation. The garden, once modest, now flourished with medicinal plants that seemed to grow with supernatural vigor under the influence of the unified necklace. Emily, sitting on the porch, practiced her rehabilitation exercises. Her legs, though not yet fully recovered, showed notable improvements each day. The woven blanket, now permanently imbued with the necklace's energy, helped her maintain a constant connection with its healing power. "Very good, little one," encouraged Rose, the healer, who now worked alongside both families. "The energy flows better through your legs every day." Mr. Vincent, who had set up a small office in the neighboring house, arrived with several ancient books in his arms. The transformation in him was as remarkable as Emily's physical recovery. His eyes, once cold and calculating, now shone with genuine warmth. "I found more texts about the Nawals in my family's archives," he announced, placing the books on a nearby table. "There are records of cures and healings that our ancestors performed together before the division." Catherine, who was preparing infusions with the new herbs from the garden, approached with interest. The ancient knowledge of both families united again. It's as if the universe had been waiting for this moment. The black wolf, now a constant presence on the property, rested near Emily, its eyes attentive to every movement. Other Nawals appeared occasionally, especially during the full moon, creating an increasingly strong bond between the natural world and that of humans. "You know what's most extraordinary?" commented Mark, who had been helping organize the new texts. "It's not just our families that are healing. The entire village seems to be changing." It was true. Since the unification of the necklace, a positive energy seemed to have spread throughout the community. Plants grew stronger, animals were healthier, and people seemed kinder and more understanding towards each other. "The ancient texts speak of this," explained Mr. Vincent, leafing through one of the books. "The unified necklace doesn't just affect its bearers. Its influence extends to everything around it, creating a field of harmony and healing." Emily focused on taking another step, leaning on the cane that Rose had carved especially for her. The necklace glowed softly, and for a moment everyone could see the lines of energy connecting every living being in the area. "It's as if the world is awakening," said Emily, amazed. "I can feel every plant, every animal, even people. Everything is connected." Joe, returning from a walk in the forest, brought exciting news. "The ancient paths of the Nawals are reappearing. Trails that had been hidden for generations are becoming visible again. And it's not just that," added Catherine, pointing to the horizon. "Other families with special gifts are beginning to approach. The necklace is calling those who have the ability to help in the healing of the world." Mr. Vincent nodded thoughtfully. "For generations, my family sought power to dominate. Now I understand that our true purpose was always to be part of something greater, something that unites rather than divides." The black wolf suddenly stood up, its ears alert. Moments later, a group of people appeared on the path leading to the house. Families from neighboring villages, some carrying sick children, others bringing plants and traditional remedies. "They've heard the rumors," Rose said softly. "About the healing, about the return of the ancient magic." Emily stood up, steadier than ever, the necklace shining with a welcoming light. "And we're here to help," she said with determination. "All together." Mr. Vincent and Mark exchanged looks of understanding before approaching to help organize the newcomers. Catherine and Rose began preparing more healing infusions, while Joe arranged chairs and blankets in the garden. The black wolf watched everything with satisfaction, its ancient eyes shining with the wisdom of one who has seen a cycle complete and a new one begin. The Nawals had patiently waited for this moment, the return of the true magic of healing, born not from individual power, but from the union of hearts and purposes. The evening sun bathed the valley in golden hues as a crowd gathered in front of the adobe house. News of the miraculous healings had spread, and families from increasingly distant places arrived seeking help and hope. Emily, now able to walk with the help of a cane carved with ancient symbols, observed the scene from the porch. The unified necklace glowed softly on her neck, its light pulsing to the rhythm of her heartbeat. "It's incredible how everything has changed in such a short time," she commented to her mother, who was preparing new infusions with herbs from the enchanted garden. Catherine smiled, her eyes shining with wisdom. "Change was always meant to happen, my child. We just needed to be ready to receive it." Mr. Vincent, who now worked shoulder to shoulder with Mark, approached with an ancient map unfolded in his hands. "We've identified more sacred places," he announced, "sites where the energy of the Nawals is stronger. We could establish healing centers at each of them." The black wolf, resting near Emily, raised its head with interest. Other Nawals had begun to reveal themselves to specific people in the community, those with the natural gift for healing and protection. "The ancient texts mention something about this," said Joe, approaching with the codex of the Nawals. "They speak of a network of sacred places, connected by lines of energy. In the past, these connections maintained balance throughout the region." Rose, who had been examining a sick child, joined the conversation. And it's not just physical illnesses we're healing. The unified necklace has the power to heal deeper wounds, traumas, ancient fears, divisions between families. Emily stood up, leaning on her cane, and walked to the center of the garden. The necklace shone more intensely, and everyone could see the lines of energy connecting each person present, a brilliant network of light and healing. "It's as if the world is awakening from a long sleep," said Emily. "Every day we discover new ways to help, new connections that were always there, but we couldn't see." A distant howl caught everyone's attention. More narwhals appeared at the edge of the forest, their majestic forms now visible to those who had begun to awaken their own gifts. "The ancient barriers are falling," observed Mr. Vincent. "Not just between our families, but between worlds. The narwhals are helping us remember a wisdom we had forgotten." Catherine approached her daughter, placing a hand on the necklace. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "The real test will be keeping this legacy alive, passing it on to future generations." Emily nodded, understanding the depth of that responsibility. "That's why we must establish a school," she said with conviction. "A place where we can teach not just about healing, but about the importance of unity, of balance." Mark, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. "My family's old hacienda. It's been abandoned for years. We could restore it, turn it into that learning center. And my family library," added Mr. Vincent, "contains generations of knowledge that can now be freely shared." The black wolf stood up, approaching the group. Through the necklace, Emily could feel its approval and that of all the narwhals. This was the path they had always hoped humanity would find. "United in purpose and heart," Emily recited, remembering the words of the prophecy. "Not just our families, but all families. Not just to heal, but to grow, to learn, to evolve together." The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in magical colors. The people gathered in the garden, feeling the energy of the moment, began to share stories, remedies, hopes. The ancient divisions between villages and families were fading under the healing influence of the unified necklace. "Look!" whispered Rose, pointing to the horizon. A luminous figure briefly appeared among the trees, the human form of a narwhal, smiling with approval before vanishing into the twilight. It was a reminder that the most powerful magic had always been there, waiting in the hearts of those who were willing to see beyond differences, to heal the wounds of the past, and to build a future based on love and mutual understanding. A year had passed since the unification of the necklaces. The old hacienda, now transformed into the school of healing and ancestral wisdom, stood majestic against the dawn sky. Its walls, restored with love and dedication, displayed ancient symbols that glowed softly under the light of the rising sun. Emily, walking with firm steps through the medicinal gardens, smiled as she saw the students beginning to arrive. Young and old, from different villages and cultures, all united by the desire to learn and heal. The unified necklace on her neck shone with a serene light, its power now in perfect balance with the world around it. "Good morning, Teacher Emily," several students greeted as they passed. Some wore small turquoise necklaces, not as powerful as the original, but imbued with a fraction of its healing energy. Mr. Vincent and Catherine had discovered a way to create these amulets for those who showed the natural gift of healing. "Who could have imagined this a year ago?" said Mark, approaching his daughter. His face, once marked by guilt and fear, now radiated peace and purpose. "The narwhals imagined it," Emily replied, pointing to the black wolf resting under a nearby tree. "They always knew this day would come." The school had become much more than a healing center. It was a meeting point where ancient wisdom merged with new knowledge, where the barriers between the mystical and the everyday naturally dissolved. Mr. Vincent emerged from the library, carrying new texts he had translated. "Every day we discover more," he commented with youthful enthusiasm. "The ancients not only left us knowledge about healing, but a complete way of seeing and understanding the world." Catherine and Rose led herbology classes in the central garden, where medicinal plants of all kinds grew with supernatural vigor. The power of the unified necklace had transformed the land into an oasis of life and healing energy. "The earth remembers," Rose explained to her students. "It remembers the ancient connection between all living beings, and now it's helping us remember too." Joe, sitting in his favorite rocking chair on the porch, observed everything with satisfaction. Beside him, The codex of the Nawals remained open, its pages now completely legible to those who were ready to understand its secrets. "The circle has been completed," the old man said as Emily approached, "and at the same time, a new one begins." Emily nodded, understanding the deep truth in her grandfather's words. The unified necklace had not only healed the division between families, it had awakened something deeper in the community, an ancestral memory of how to live in harmony with the earth and with each other. The Nawals appeared more frequently now, not just the black wolf that had been their first guide, but other guardian spirits that revealed themselves to those who were ready to see them. The ancient barrier between worlds had become thinner, allowing magic and everyday reality to intertwine in beautiful and meaningful ways. "Teacher Emily," called a young student, approaching shyly. "The Nawals. They spoke to me in dreams last night. They said there are more sacred places to awaken." Emily smiled, remembering her own first contacts with the mystical world. "That's right," she confirmed. "Our work is just beginning. There's so much to heal, so much to remember." The sun reached its highest position, and the unified necklace shone with special intensity. Through it, Emily could feel the network of energy connecting the school with other sacred places that were beginning to awaken in different parts of the country. Every day, more people discovered their gifts. More families came together to heal ancient wounds. The power was never in the necklaces, Emily reflected aloud. It was always in our capacity to love, to forgive, to unite for a purpose greater than ourselves. The black wolf approached her, its ancient eyes shining with wisdom and approval. Through their connection, Emily could feel the clear message. This was not an end, but a new beginning. The true adventure, that of guiding humanity back to its connection with the earth and with its own inner magic, was just beginning. And so, as the sun shone over the school and its inhabitants, as students learned and healers taught, as families gathered and hearts opened, the unified necklace continued to shine. A constant reminder that the most powerful magic had always been there, waiting in the love that unites, in the forgiveness that liberates, and in the hope that transforms. The legacy of the two families, once divided by fear and ambition, had now become a beacon of light and hope for all who sought healing and understanding. And at the heart of it all was Emily, the girl who had found her true strength not in being able to walk, but in her capacity to unite, to heal, to love. The Nawals howled in the distance, their ancestral song resonating with a promise of better days to come, as the sun continued its eternal cycle, illuminating a world that, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat, was remembering its own magic.